Today we're going to be discussing 5 keys to successful active candidate recruitment. So a lot of people these days are talking about passive candidate recruitment, reaching out to the people that are not necessarily looking, which makes them a little bit easier to pin down, because it's very true, active candidates can be difficult to get a hold of and to keep interested in your positions because they're actively applying and engaging with other companies. They're getting multiple offers. They're kind of seeing what's out there, what's best for them. And sometimes it can be hard to get them to keep an interest in your company, stay engaged with your company, and then finally to accept your offer. So we'll be discussing some of the ways to get your active candidates to stick with your company throughout your process. I'm Jen Picard, and I'm the marketing director over at Bright, and I'm joined by Jason Webster, who's the founder of OnGig. So a quick introduction to Bright. We've developed an algorithm which makes it really easy for candidates and job opportunities to find the perfect match between them. So the algorithm looks at resumes and your job descriptions and finds which resume job description pair is the best fit for you. I'm joined by Jason, and Jason's going to go ahead and do a quick introduction for himself and OnGig.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Webster, and I'm a 15-year experienced recruiter who helped found OnGig in 2011 with my 2 co-founders. Basically what we set out to do is reinvent the job description, and what we've come up with is a social job ad that we're now working at scale in an effort to drive more candidates to your own environment, like your own careers page, and really maximize your content across the web, bringing people to your own environment.
Great. So today we're going to be talking about active candidate recruitment. We're going to go ahead and just jump right in. So according to the JobSite's Job Seeker survey, we're seeing that 26% of candidates are active, and another 48% of those are open to hearing about new opportunities. So what we're seeing here is that a lot of the candidates on the market right now, whether they're working, not working, active, or passive, could easily become active with the right opportunity. So it's really important to put a big focus on these active candidates in the market to make sure that you're getting the top candidates. A Career Crossroads survey found something very similar actually. They're saying that 23% of candidates are active, and another 14% of those are what we're calling semi-active. So depending on what your definitions look like, this could still be a passive quote-unquote candidate, but what it means is that they're just starting to poke around a little bit. So maybe they got in a fight with their boss an hour ago. Maybe they're feeling underappreciated at work, or they're feeling overworked. And the economy is really starting to pick up very, very slowly, but it still is improving quite a bit. So what we're seeing is that only 26% of candidates on the market are actually not open to a new job, and the other 74% are either currently active, thinking about becoming active, or could easily become approachable and active at some point in the near future. So the first tip that we have for you is to write a killer job description. So in writing a job description, what you really want to do is kind of reach out to that candidate and make them understand what makes your opportunity better for them than anything else out there. And so what are some of the things you might want to talk about and make your company different are possibly some of the same reasons that people are active in the marketplace right now. So maybe they're working at a company and they have had their salary cut over the past couple of years. Maybe they just want to change, and actually the top reason for active job seekers to start looking is that they're looking for advancement in their careers right now. They're looking for something that's going to take them to their next level, and that'll be like a long-term solution for them. So you want to talk about some of the things in your job description that would make a candidate want to make the jump over to your company.
I think piggybacking on what Jen is saying, it's really interesting. As we set out to build OnGig, we did a lot of surveys and sitting down with candidates, and to her point, it is the career advancement was a key. And then how do I see that? Well, candidates were most concerned with who would I work for, who would I work with, and what is the environment like at the company. Those were the 3 main things that candidates continued to tell us. So as we look across the web, it's interesting I'm showing here, this is a example of a different kind of job description that I saw. This is straight off of a website for a company called Crush Path, and they do a lot of advertising on LinkedIn. It's one of the easy ways I found it, but they're very authentic in terms of, the candidates that want to know who would I be working for. Matt Wilkinson is right in front of you, so he is the hiring manager. To know a little bit more about the company, and as it says, the gig, it's very easy to read. It's not a boring, multi-paragraph type of a job description. Instead, it's just much easier to read and know who you might be working for.
I would like to chime in too. I've seen a very similar thing with job candidates. A lot of the active candidates' reasons for leaving their current position is something to do with their manager. Either their manager doesn't give them enough recognition, or their manager doesn't stand up for them, or their manager's not helping them get promotion. So a lot of people are really interested in seeing who their direct manager would be.
And then next is, so certainly there's the text, and people have written job descriptions, but what we're seeing more and more in this case with Yelp is job ads are becoming more visual. So if you look at people using their phones and discovering jobs in new ways via searching the web, things that are visual stand out. Think about it, most people have heard the statistic, 70+% higher rate of clicking on somebody's LinkedIn profile if they have a photo. So now most people have photos. But that's not going to change, and that's going to increase with job ads as well, and we're seeing that being on the rise, and this is an example for Yelp. So the second tip is going to be advertise your opening everywhere. So you want to make yourself easy to find. So how do you cast lines all over the internet? So this is a real pie chart coming from OnGig. This is at the end of last year, so need to update this a little bit. But what you see here is, we've got a pretty wide swath as far as where candidates could find us. So you've got obviously career pages, 17% coming from Google. We'll touch on that a little bit again later in the webinar. Places like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the usual social suspects. But then blogs, we've actually seen people on your team that maybe manage their own blogs or are out there. They are good communicators. What they may not bring in volume, they can bring in quality. And we'll talk a little bit more about the impact of your employees too. But you really want to make sure you're taking a good job ad and casting a wide net across the internet.
Absolutely, yeah. This is something that we do in the marketing field, and so it's really important in recruitment marketing as well. Obviously, there are millions of places that you could possibly post your job, and you have limited resources. So, it is important to track in a way similar to what OnGig is doing here to see where your best results are coming from. Because if you're spending the same amount of time on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, but all of your good candidates are coming from LinkedIn or Twitter, then you don't want to spend as much time on Facebook. So you kind of want to make sure that you're tracking your sources of interviews and your sources of hires, your sources of candidates, and make sure you know what's working best for you. And that you're always trying new things, because you never really know what that next best thing is. So by taking a good inventory of where everybody's coming from and narrowing down what platforms you're active on, it gives you space to try new platforms as well, which is really important to make sure that you're staying at the top of the game here and that you're getting those best candidates, because you don't really ever know where you're going to find them until you look.
And I put here, we put don't sleep on the value of SEO or search engine optimization. So what you're seeing here is an example for Salesforce.com. So a pretty common search. People at the top of the hiring funnel, they may be discovering opportunities, or they may have been contacted. They may be more mid in the hiring funnel, where they've been contacted by someone on your recruiting team or yourself, or seen an ad, or a friend told them about it. What's the first thing people are doing? They're going to Google and they're going to search your company, and typically they're going to find Glassdoor, they're going to find LinkedIn, they're going to find Simply Hired, they're going to find Indeed. Those are the usual suspects, or they may find the front page of your careers page. In this case, Salesforce is optimized where, again, coming back to the visual theme, you can see right above the fold on the search results, there are 2 of their videos that they have right front and center. So, what we've seen in terms of OnGig is, 3rd highest source of application actually coming through Google, believe it or not. So, just a tip to not sleep on the value of SEO. There's many other tips on how to optimize your site, which we can't necessarily get into today, but it's really something to think about as you're leading a recruiting organization.
Absolutely. Our next tip here is to create a world-class employment brand, and this is going to be really instrumental in getting you those top active candidates. So I'm sure most people that are listening today don't have a problem with posting a job and getting hundreds of applications. The question is, are those the top candidates on the market? And what we've seen is that about 50% of the candidates that apply to your job are not even qualified for them. So the employer brand is going to help you attract those top active candidates. We're seeing that a lot of employers are agreeing to this. 93%, according to this LinkedIn survey, are planning to maintain or grow their investment in their employment brand. And they're actually seeing quite a bit of results from this. So, not only are they getting better quality candidates, but they're seeing a savings cost, 50% savings cost per hire being associated with a strong employment brand. So you want to make sure that, when people are out there, and candidates are out there researching your company, deciding what company they want to work for, you want to make sure that your employment brand is front and center. That includes things like having great benefits or making sure that your employees are happy. You want to check things like Glassdoor and CareerBlitz to make sure that your employees are saying good things about you and that they're happy with your company and that they're sharing what makes your company such a great place to work with their networks and with everybody out there on the web.
That's really exciting. You're starting to see more. A lot of people are talking about employer branding, but now you're starting to see a little more data and science being put to it. There's an article on Recruiter.com this morning, as a matter of fact, on the subject. So
as we were saying, the employer brand is top of mind for a lot of recruiting professionals out there. Most people agree that having a clearly defined strategy is going to be the key to achieving your employer branding objectives. So if you're interested in employer branding, we do have another webinar on this topic. If you go to bright.com/recruiter/webinars, you'll see that the recording is listed on that page. So check it out if you're interested in this. And what really makes it important is that we found that 75% of Americans would not take a job with a company that had a bad reputation, even if they were unemployed. So you better believe that those top active candidates out there are definitely not even going to consider your company if you're not worth their while.
Yeah, I think it's very telling. It comes back to, remember the number, some of the reasons people are looking is career advancement, and they want to hear more about, the people in an organization. And it says, 86% of the employees are attracted to companies by career development, and that type of opportunity. So, to that point, when it comes to employer branding, there's a lot of strategies on how you can build a brand, but the number one strategy is, how do you handle candidates and employees? They are the number one and 1A actors in your employer branding process. If you look, the experience a candidate has determines your brand's perception. So that was, case in point by those statistics. The stories communicated by your employees are far more powerful than any commercials. And to paint this picture, as we were testing to build OnGig, we put videos in front of candidates, and we put some authentic ones that were more like filmed with a phone, and it's the people that are actually involved in the hiring versus this high-level company pitch. And 9 times out of 10, they chose the authentic one because it just seemed real. It didn't seem like a commercial, as they put it to us. Provide the two audiences with a venue to be in the conversation. There's many social channels for that and places where you can have those conversations. More advanced concepts, I think NPR is a good example of a hashtag campaign. They have hashtag NPR Life, which you can, we've talked about visuals and things of that nature. So you can do Instagram, you can obviously do Facebook upcoming, Twitter, so you can really allow your people to populate your content. And then the biggest thing is really to listen, and respond. You've got to know what people are talking about and be in the conversation. So in taking it a step further, as you look at people determining your brand, so there's a company Cardpool. This is like a landing page, so they had an advertising campaign going. I thought it was really unique because they had their people first, right on the landing page, and these are people from multiple departments. These are real people, so you start to get a sense of what the personality of the company is. And they have a very clear value proposition, 7 reasons to join the company. So again, about that career development, same themes. They're trying to capture that quickly on a landing page. So again, we're kind of driving it home, but you've got to be, going out and sourcing candidates through multiple channels. And if people are actively, interested or searching, remember these active candidates are going to be on all different types of channels. So, our theory is that you should really have a good landing spot, whether it's your careers page or a venue that you drive people to. So this kind of ties into the SEO argument. So if you go on there and you're basically giving away all of your traffic to LinkedIn and to Indeed and to Simply Hired and to Glassdoor, and you're letting them have the conversation for you. In this aspect, what you're trying to do is provide a venue close to your careers page. It could be your blog. Blogs tend to be more flexible in terms of being able to develop. But use these channels like Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and all the effort you're putting in there to drive people to your own environment.
Absolutely. So, again, from a marketing perspective here, my goal is to always drive people back to my website because I want to see where my customers are coming from. And it's very similar in recruiting. It's important to know where your candidates are coming from so you know where you're best utilizing your time. So getting them back onto your own turf is really beneficial just for tracking purposes and for making sure that you're able to engage with them and continue the conversation.
So just hit a couple of these points. So we talked about using the channels to drive people to your environment. Create content that's worth sharing. Well, what does that mean? It means real content. So if you go on most people's Facebook pages or you go on company pages, you see the big party or you see the awards ceremony and you see all the highlights. But you don't tend to see as much of, here's every day, here's what we do, here's what it looks like to work in our office. Those are the folks that are gaining traction with those active candidates because they start to picture themselves in that environment. And it's kind of like, if you think about, you're looking at, I think I've heard about people's Facebook news feeds, right? It's like you're reading everybody's highlights, and that can be tough for people sometimes. It's no different. You want to give them a realistic picture, obviously an attractive one, but you want to show them what it would be like to work there. So another point is to give candidates options. So if you look, this is, again, the Yelp example. If you spend all this time to drive people to your environment and all you have is apply or don't apply, it's kind of like getting married without dating. It's like, okay, I'm interested, I'm just going to jump in and apply. Well, some people, although active, may be in a job and maybe they want to stay in tune with what you're doing. Well, talent community has been a hot subject. In this case, Talent Network is the subject line that Yelp uses to be able to capture interest so that they can communicate with those people in the future. And by the way, I don't think you should just send jobs to your Talent Network all the time. It can be things, Yelp has cool events. They have open houses at their office. They have different things that they're doing to give that audience an inside look at their company. And you can start to organize those people and know more about that kind of active / passive audience you have that you're gathering.
So our fifth and final tip here is to be personable and communicate often. So unless you're really going after the post and pray type of candidates, which I don't really recommend for the stat listed earlier that 50% of your applications will be unqualified. And you're probably going out there and you're proactively sourcing these active candidates. So maybe you're going on Twitter and you're searching for people that are saying, hey, I'm looking for a new job in marketing. Or maybe you're going on a site like Bright and you're sourcing candidates based off your job description. Or maybe you're on LinkedIn, which is definitely the case with most people here. You're going on LinkedIn and you're reaching out to candidates that find a good skills match for your position. And the biggest thing here is to make sure that you're being personable in these communications, and that when you reach out to these candidates, you make sure that, one, it's something that you think they might legitimately be interested in. You're not just spraying and praying that people respond to your communication. You want to make sure that you're reaching out and saying, hey, I found you on LinkedIn. I thought it was really interesting that you have a background in this with this company or this industry, and I think that you'd be a good match for this position for the following reasons. You want to make sure that you're also including some of the great selling points of the company to really get them interested. But being personal is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see happening in job postings and candidate reach outs all the time. And then also you want to make sure that you're communicating with your people often. So, what we're finding is that the candidate experience matters, and that communication is not always happening during the active candidate recruitment process. A lot of people apply to the jobs, they don't get a notification that their resume has been received. They don't hear back that they're no longer in the running for the position, and people are getting really upset about this. And not only is this affecting your employment brand, but it's actually going to influence your company's brand too, your product brand. There's this study that we're showing right here. Where is it? The second one. What was that? 32% of candidates were less likely to buy products from a company who didn't respond to their job application. And that's really huge. These candidates are upset that they're not hearing back from you. They might really like your brand. They might really want to work for your company because they believe in what you do. And when they don't hear back from you, they kind of get set back a little bit. They get upset.
That was a wow for me. And I've heard it from some candidates where they kind of shut off and turn off that particular company. So definitely a wow. I think when you look at the candidate experience, if you one good example, so we talked a little bit about the hashtag campaign. So the personality of your team can be very persuasive in terms of the candidate experience. I wanted to just give you a good example of a hashtag campaign. Salesforce.com employs hashtag dreamjob. And in this case, you can see, how awesome is it if you can see all the different people, right, that work for your company in the conversation. They've got an official handle, which they do a very excellent job operating that handle. And it's not just about pitching jobs. In this particular case, they are talking about hiring. But in many cases, they might be giving, tips on job search. They might be giving, tips on a certain field. There's a lot of things that you can do to communicate and also to listen to what people are saying through your Twitter handle. And then one of my favorite sayings is, don't do social, be social. We've had plenty of social job ads put up through OnGig where candidates ask a question and there's no response. Well, that goes cold pretty quickly. So you can't just put something on a social channel, whether it be OnGig or Facebook or LinkedIn, and not be in the conversation. So what I would recommend is, and I learned a good tip from a company called Trulia, and a gentleman there named Daniel Morris, and he set up this concept of a buzz team. They picked specific set of channels, 5 or 6 channels. These are the ones we can dominate. Here's a few people in our organization in each department who are going to participate, and really put a structure around how they communicated socially. And that buzz team really helped with consistency. It helped with authenticity because it wasn't just marketing putting up a picture, and so it was just a little more real. And then that trail of breadcrumbs, right, makes it super easy for these active candidates to find current content, not just something written 6 months ago, 12 months ago, about your company as they start to do their research. So having that, get people on board and be social.
Absolutely. So, in terms of being social, it's also important to realize, a lot of companies are still actually struggling with the benefits of utilizing social media as a tool. And, all I can really say to that is that social media has become a new way for people to reach out to you, whether they're your customers or your candidates or anybody else. And, if somebody calls your company, if somebody emails your company, it's best practice to respond. And the same is true for social media, that if somebody sends you a tweet or writes on your Facebook wall, it's really important that you respond in the same way that you would to a phone call or an email, because it is a new form of communication, and people are reaching out to you on these social platforms hoping for a response. So, whether it's a customer or a candidate, you want to make sure that you're giving a good experience to that person. Because like we said, if it's a candidate and you don't respond to them, it impacts your entire brand, and that's bad for the company as a whole. So that is it for our presentation today. I want to thank everybody so much for joining us. And just wanted to point out, a little bit earlier we did discuss trying out some new technology, seeing what works. And I just wanted to let everybody know that both Bright and OnGig have free trials. So on Bright you can do a 7-day trial, and on OnGig you can post a job for free. And it just gives you that opportunity to try something new, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, it's, obviously not what we're going for, but if it does, great, you found a new source of candidates, and that's really what we're hoping for.
Definitely. By all means, if you can go to OnGig, this will take you to like a free demo. And then you can also reach out to me at jason@ongig.com. Happy to continue the conversation and help you however I can.
Great. Thanks, everybody.